So welcome to the first open call webinar number 2. We had a webinar earlier on about the same open call just last year, somewhere in December. You can find the recording on the website, which is NGI pointer NGISearch.eu. So you're already making mistakes in the new year. So NGISearch.eu, I'll show this URL a little bit later. Today we're going to go through 2 parts. So the first part is a short welcome, an overview of the project. Then we talk a bit about the scope of the first open call, specifically the topic. Aurora will do that for us. And then we also let you know what you're going to get out of it. So of course there is some funding available, but we also offer some added value services that you can pick and mix and go through a 12 months support program with us. And then, sorry, the 30 minutes has slipped. It should be down at the Q&A. So the first 30 minutes should also include the rules for the first open call. And then we spend about half an hour on questions and answers a little bit later. But before I go ahead, I have a slide later on, this one here. I just want to point out that at the bottom, the partners in the project. So Aarhus University, I represent that, as well as Rita is on the call from there. We have Funding Box involved. We have Nina and Claire from Funding Box. We have Linknovate. Charlie is on the call from Linknovate. And then Pierre from OW2. And from University of Murcia, we have Aurora on the call. So let's get back to the overall context. So NGISearch is part of a larger program that's been running since 2017, I think, maybe even 16 if you count a program or a project called The Study. And it's gone through several phases already of these types of projects like NGISearch. So these are thematic projects around the topic of next generation internet, which has sort of this core idea of privacy and trust as thematic themes, and open source as a large driver for its development work. There are a number of types of projects involved. So these types like NGISearch, they have so far funded over 750 smaller projects, of which you can see some on the right. I'll go through some in a minute. And this is a mechanism called financial support to third parties. And then there are other projects that are also supporting the development. So these are coordination support actions that help, for instance, with dissemination activities or coordination activities, or services that involve, for instance, business development, startup support, and so on as well. So it's a larger ecosystem. If you're interested, and I highly encourage you to be interested in it, you should look at the main website, which is NGI.eu, where you can find a lot of these NGI solutions. So these are from different other projects. You can have a look at where they're located in Europe. Maybe you have somebody nearby you that you can talk to, or maybe even know somebody who's already involved in this. So typically, then these projects like NGISearch, they look like this. NGI Pointer is one of those projects that is now come to a conclusion last year. And this project funded in total 36 different FSTP projects that were on a specific scope or topic area called, very broadly, renovating internet architecture. And these projects range from layer 2, 3 projects to even some core internet applications like some web, some email, some browsers applications, but as well looking at some hardware, for instance, communication hardware, but also even chip and chip design tools were involved there as well. So even though you have a topic, usually you have a very broad range of different types of projects that you take in and then look after for a period of time. But you should check out this larger context of the scope of the NGI, and you can find a lot of material here on NGI.eu and see how you fit with the philosophy of it. Now, specifically to NGISearch, NGISearch is built up in a way that we're going to run 5 open calls. So we're now discussing the first open call. It has its own specific work program and guide for applicants. So this full package for you to understand how to apply for it. And we will run 4 more of these open calls, and they will be staggered around 3 months apart or so, 4 months apart. So if you miss the first open call, you can always join at a later open call. But just a word of warning, the topics will change over time depending on how search, discovery, and indexing is evolving over time, as well as what focus areas we would like to strengthen inside the program. So there will be changes on that. The topic is search, discovery, and indexing, which is very broad, but it has this direction of human-centric context. So we wanted not to work in the sense that traditional or these larger search engines, for instance, work, or looking at how they monetize through data lakes and advertising, for instance. We want to see what alternatives we can find towards search. Now, not building a competitor, but looking at the elements of how this could be changed in smaller parts. And this is not just the search engine, but it could be a lot of different things like interfaces, some specific algorithms, how they could be changed, or some other aspects that Aurora will explain a little bit later. If you get accepted into the program, so there's an evaluation that Nina or Claire will explain a little bit later on, you will enter into this 12-month custom program where you can use some of the 10 added value services that we're offering in this program. And again, we will present those a little bit later. But in essence, you'll be allocated a mentor. So somebody like myself or Aurora will work together with you, or Charlie for that matter as well, Olivier and Pierre-Yves. And they will work with you on a regular basis to help you along in this program. And then some others will join and offer you a service if you need it, for instance, on choosing open source licenses or looking at your test bed and so on. We will also help you integrate into the larger NGI community. So this is not just the other FSTP projects that are run by this project, but a larger context. So for example, we have a sister, Research and Innovation Action. This is what this REA stands for, which is working on infrastructure. So this one is specifically looking at a web index, like for instance, the web index that Google is running on. They would like to build an open web index that could be used for various applications and services. And they have their own separate open calls as well that will come a little bit later. But we would like to work very closely with them as well. And of course, the other projects and other topics, because under the umbrella of NGI, we are still sort of working towards this human-centric context. And there are many sort of applications and services that can be built up out of different NGI contexts. So we will help you communicate and disseminate your results to a broader audience, but also specifically inside this NGI community. And then finally, we're looking also at synergizing with other initiatives on the national, regional, and international level. So we have, for instance, relationships to IGF or other bodies like also standardization bodies like W3C or IETF and so on, where we can help you make connections and build contacts to also move into these international initiatives. And if you're already also yourself working in these initiatives, we would like to invite you to share that with us and also help other FSTP projects to join there as well. The overall budget of the project is 8.5 million euros, so it's a fairly large project, of which then 80% is reserved for these projects. So we have 6.8 million euros over 5 open calls, of which 50 to 150k euros per open call project will be spent. So there's going to be about 50, let's say, projects in total, spread over 5 open calls. So if you say the averages, so we're expecting around about 10 projects per open call to be accepted. And if you have questions, and I can see maybe that there will be some coming in, you can already put them into the chat, but we'll address them as we move along. So now we're moving into the topics, and I would like to invite Aurora to give an overview of the topics that we are addressing in Open Call 1 specifically. Aurora, are you available?
Yes, thank you. So hello, everybody. I will introduce the topics for this first open call that are intelligent voice-based assistants, natural language processing, semantic analysis, social computing, data visualization, and new ways of discovering and accessing information. We will go through each of them now. Please, Mirko. So for the first topic, we seek for improvements on voice-based assistants. They are nowadays currently used for routinary tasks and can have social and mental positive influences in people, like in promoting physical activities and making suggestions for a healthier lifestyle. But as familiarity increases with this kind of technology, more complex queries will be made, and those will require the addition of intelligence to the assistants. We will not, nowadays we're mainly using it for domotics to lower the volume of the music, to open or to turn on and off the lights. But in the near future, maybe we would like to get some advice with regards to activities to do with a family member with special needs, for example, or to start a new hobby. So there is a lot of room for improvement in these technologies. Next, please. So some of the options that we have come up with to improve the current voice assistants are the following, but we are not restricted to them. First of all, to make them context aware and change the answer to the query depending on the context, like on the device to which we are speaking to make it time sensitivity, to make it geolocalized, so to deliver the answer depending on the place, on the time, and being aware of all this context, and also integrate other real-time metrics. Then we would like to see some projects on mixed modal interactions where inputs and outputs are not only voice, but also text, images, sounds, anything really. We can also improve privacy on the current voice assistants by making them aware of if the user is in public, then there will be certain responses that should be kept private. Multilingual search, understand the tone of the person, interpreting stress, all these kind of improvements are sick. Next, please. For the second topic, it's the widely known natural language processing. The majority of search engines use previously accumulated user requests for predicting the search output without taking into account users' intention. And also NLP models complexity is increasing. The way they use the resources nowadays, including energy to function, it's becoming a challenge itself. So the state-of-the-art models assume that the devices will have unlimited access to powerful processors, generous memory, and in general, cloud connectivity. So this will not be always the case and will depend a lot on the use case. So the challenge consists on developing simpler and more sustainable NLP algorithm research and practices. Some examples could be like to create models that are tailored for edge devices, or tiny devices are nowadays as IoT devices are known for, so that we don't depend on sending the data to the cloud for its analysis. We can also use federated NLP, which can address concerns on data privacy by sharing model parameters instead of the whole data, and also allowing for the possibility to not be connected all the time. And models need to be also able to interpret social media data using demographics, language, social interactions as variables from which to extract information to when realizing a query. So all these improvements have room in NLP at this moment. Next, please. The next topic is semantic analysis. The integration of semantic data can generate a common representation of concepts and the relations in the form of what is known as ontologies. Those ontologies aid in the integration of heterogeneous data that is present in all nowadays applications. The information about a subject or a topic might be spread across different data sources. So we need to find uniform methods that help access this information and integrate the whole knowledge. And we can do it through semantic analysis. Some of the challenges in the field consist of the search of dynamic relations between concepts. So you see in the on-the-go data or online data that has just been generated to make it reactive. To optimize queries also, we could try to minimize execution and maximize the completeness of the answer through these ontologies. And federated querying processing techniques are also encouraged to be developed in order to integrate the data from any source, autonomous, distributed, heterogeneous data in a uniform way. Next, please. The next topic is social computing. What is social computing is all the systems that support the use of information in general, like gathering, representing, processing, disseminate information that is distributed across some kind of social collectivity, which can be a team, a community, an organization. The interaction between social behavior and technologies needs to be addressed in order to reach substantial changes in the behavior of the technology adopters. So when technologies are based on the interaction with humans, they have to motivate and engage and encourage participation while enhancing the learning process itself. So we also look for this kind of technologies. The implementation of edge social computing by means of context-aware learning, collaborative learning, and other proposals in this direction are encouraged. And this may be a true broad description. So some examples include applications that are based on data that is gathered from social platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, any kind of social platform. And then basically we have to find solutions that are focused on discovering and capturing social dynamics. So for example, location and map-based apps, e-commerce tools, networking, humanitarian, environmental purposes, really any kind, there's no limitation, any kind of use that will be based on some social platform data or some social engaging interaction with the technology. Next, please. The fifth topic is data visualization. Visualizations are key for engaging with a report, with a proof of concept, with the steps of a process. So information visualization, human-computer interaction, machine learning, all are joining efforts to create better visualizations in the sense of their interpretability. And we are looking for interactive solutions that allow visualizations for query results. And these visualizations are, we would like that they can help provide user recommendations, support data-driven actions or query-driven actions, result-driven actions, all kinds of scalable and efficient solutions. So for that, visually driven analysis of spatial-temporal, textual, and any kind of data, powered by artificial intelligence, progressive and intuitive visualization in batches. This kind of projects are fitting to this topic. And next, please. And finally, we have proposed a general topic not to leave anything behind on new ways of discovering and accessing information. Given the rapid development of Internet of Things, the variability, the volume, velocity of data sources, we look for mechanisms for searching and integrating data in general. And those are essential to leverage all relevant knowledge that for improving services and creating new ones. So for this talent, we can receive algorithms, methodologies, platforms to discover and access information that combine big data technologies, explainable AI, in general, leverage technologies and IoT data to access information in many different ways. And those are all the topics. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Aurora. Just to clarify at this point that we are not calling for one proposal per topic. We would like to, of course, have a spread across the different topics, but we will take the best of the proposals that are coming in, and if they're all falling under 1 or 2 topics or 3 topics, then that's what it is. So we don't say that we want one for each topic. So let's move a little bit to the benefits. So now we have this first open call. It closes in February. I'll give the date a little bit later specifically. And of course, the main benefit is that you get equity-free funding. So this means up to 150,000. The rules for this will be explained a little bit later. But it means that you own all of your work, and we don't take a share out of this. And on top of the funding, we will also provide you with a number of services. So these are these 10 added value services that we'll go through in turn now during this 12 months mentoring program, or up to 12 months mentoring program, where you will be working with us on your project. So in turn, I would like to ask now the different partners just to mention or quickly say what these services entail. So the first batch is the technical services. And Aurora, do you just want to start?
Sure. So we as a team have experience on creating big data platforms that are composed by several layers that include the storing, accessing, fusing, and analyzing the data for different services. So we will provide this technology mentoring and advice that it will be project tailored, and that will include advice on this, managing the data through all these steps. Also, we can provide advice on the kinds of algorithms to be used and the pre-processing, and as well as strategies to achieve novel results in this in the project that will be.
Thanks. And Pierre-Yves, can I invite you for beta testing and link to standards and foundations?
Yes, hello. So just for the record, OW2 is a non-profit association that promotes open source projects, that hosts projects as well, and that animates a community. So we are something like between what Apache and Eclipse do in terms of philosophy. We are that kind of organization, in fact. Concerning what we can offer to the project, we have some experience in beta testing that we acquired in previous research projects. So we have a platform up and running that is the outcome of a European Horizon project to provide beta testing services with a questionnaire, and we can also provide some help about building the beta testing scenario so that people can easily adopt it. But this is minor with regard to what OW2 can bring. Notably, as you can see, we are linked with a wide community in Europe and beyond. So if you have a look, I just copied the link in the chat. We have a lot of associate organizations we are regularly in contact with. So this ecosystem can be useful in terms of visibility, also in terms of standard adoption and so on. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also have a program, a methodology, in fact, that we call market readiness levels. I will copy the link also after on in the chat. it is applied. The idea is to assess the usability in terms of professional usage of open source software components. So we have applied this. It's a global quotation. It looks like the NGISearch TRL for those who know that. It's the same philosophy. We have some technical data that we extract every day from the project code base, from the bug tracker, from the Sonar Cube, also some licensing information. And the other part of it is questionnaires to the team and to the market part of the project as well, to assess that the project is well managed, that there are releases, a roadmap, bug tracker, tests on the technical and project management side. On the market side, that there is maybe professional support offers and so on. This method allows to assess the quality of a project, and we apply it to all the mature OW2 projects. So we have quotations for our own project, and we also we will have to apply it also for the French national agency DINUM, which is the French state digital agency. In fact, they also want to assess the open source code base that they promote for the public sector in France. So our methodology is gaining momentum, and we'll provide it to project if they need it, and we encourage them to use it. I will let the mic to Funding Box. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi. So Funding Books has many years of experience in running the open calls and preparing the winners for the jury day. So we will do the same thing here. So we will be having the pitch training workshops to the open call winners to try to explain them how to better pitch their solutions.
And then to round off the business services, Aarhus University, I'm working at a department called Business Development Technology, where we're working on the overlap between technology and business development, and we will provide business modeling and coaching services to projects. And we've had some experience in NGI type projects with NGI Pointer, and also looking at trust privacy as core values, hopefully being able to help you get that also started. So the final batch is then more on the one too far. The final batch is then on the innovation side, and again, let me invite OW2 to start on the licensing.
Yes, so OW2 can offer you some insights about open source licensing, the way to choose it, and also how you should handle it in your code and beyond. But moreover, the slide mentions a track at OW2Con, which is our annual conference in June this year. It is wider than this, what OW2Con can provide, and we plan to open the floor to NGISearch projects if any wish to apply, because the call for papers is already open. And the thematic of the conference is very close to what NGISearch promotes, notably in terms of digital commons on the evolution of the digital society as a whole. So I encourage people to have a look at the call for paper on the OW2Con. It is in Paris in June, so it's a fine place also to meet the open source community. Thank you.
Thank you. And Charlie, maybe you say also 2 words about Link.
Hello, everyone. Our idea with this service is to provide our research about to help you understand better the competitive landscape about your technology or your solution. To make this, we use our discovery platform, which search around different kind of data sources from grants, from patents, web monitoring, trademarks, and we create a report for you to help you understand which other organizations are researching or developing solutions similar to yours. This is the idea.
Thank you. And we go back to Aurora.
Open science advice. We will provide guidance on open science practices to make the tools and the methods developed and the knowledge that is generated transparent, accessible, and based on collaborating practices. In general, best practices on reproducible research, so that to favor scientific development and in promoting inclusion and diversity traditionally and represented groups. That's the idea.
Thank you. And finally, Nina.
Yeah, Funding Box is also, we're also experts for the content creation, and we make sure that your projects gets the visibility it deserves at the end of it, and we'll help you with the content creation jointly with the consortium.
Great. Thank you. And just to remember, these are pick and mix. We will not push you through a program that is mandatory. This is something that you can tailor yourself for your needs. And if you don't need any of the services, although we encourage you to at least use some of them, you don't necessarily have to. But I think most of them are extremely, or all of them are useful in some contexts, and we hope that you will make good use of it. So now we're moving to the rules, the basic rules for the first open call. So I think, Nina, you will take that as well.
Yeah, I'm taking over. Yeah, thank you. So first, the most important thing, most of our successful applicants have carefully read the guide for applicants, and as well as our frequently asked questions. That was also everything was posted in the chat before submitting their application. So please make sure to do the same to get closer to a successful application. As already explained, by being selected, you will be joining the NGISearch support program with the duration of up to 12 months. There's a funding available of up to 50K if the applicant is a natural person applying on their behalf, or up to 150K if the applicant is applying as an organization. There's also option to receive technical business and innovation mentoring, already explained before, provided by the project partners. So we're calling for individuals or organizations looking to change the way users search and discovery on the internet with the European values for openness, privacy, and trust in mind, everything aligned with the NGI initiative idea. So both natural persons and organizations are eligible, as said. We also accept the consortia of natural persons, consortia of organizations, or consortia of natural persons and organization. But here the limit is 3 members per team. And also the maximum funding per project is of 150K. It cannot be exceeded, no matter the size of the project, nor if the applicant participates in more than one consortium. So the upper funding limit is definitely 50K per natural person, no matter if they apply independently or within the consortium or across the several consortia. We have 4 stages of evaluation process. So it's eligibility check, minimal quality criteria, external evaluation, and final consensus meeting. And after that, of course, the sub-grant agreement. So by signing the agreement, the beneficiary declares that it meets the eligibility conditions for participation in the program, as defined in the guide for applicants and as stated in the application form. Also, the SGA can be viewed on the microsite. You can see it over there. Next, please. So a little bit about the actual process of applying. When you hit the apply button on the OpenCall site, first thing you need to do is to create the Funding Box user account, and then you can proceed with your application. Next, please. So as you can see, each field here is compulsory to fill out. The submit button will only appear once you complete the whole field. So you need to fill out the whole, each field needs to be filled out before the submission. The application process is fully online. You can save your application in draft and come back later whenever you want. There is no need to process any paperwork at this stage. At least later there'll be some, but here no. We've also prepared the instructions available on the OpenCall site, so you have all the literal step-by-step on how to apply and how to successfully apply. You can also export the application as the PDF, but this is only possible before the submission. So once you've submitted it, this feature sadly won't be possible. So you can either export it or delete it. Also here, very important thing to mention is you can submit only one proposal for the OpenCall. So you can submit more, right? If more than one proposal is identified, only the first one that has been created will be evaluated. So make sure to delete any older versions of your applications to have only just one final proposal submitted. Yeah, that will be it for this slide. I have one more, right? I think. Yeah, so these are just some tips. There's option to add a contributor to the application, so you can invite your teammates to help you fill it out. Please submit your application before the deadline, and maybe even a little bit more before the deadline, not the last minute, because life happens in these moments. Please you have to fill all the fields before being able to submit it, and only the first proposal, like I said, which has been submitted in order of time, will be evaluated, and you can go back to your application so you can edit it before the deadline and even after the submission. So when you submit it, you can still work on it before the deadline. And if you need any help, we have a dedicated email address, NGISearch@fundingbugs.com, and there's an official OpenCall help desk within the NGI online community. I posted a link also in the chat, and yeah, that would be it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nina. Just to explain also, on the submission form, you also have the ability to submit a supporting PDF. So what's very important to mention on the supporting PDF is that you don't need to write a full proposal supporting PDF. What it is that in the web forms, you cannot have tables or graphics like an architecture or something else that helps explain what you're writing in the text. So you can have the PDF with a number of tables and images that you refer to in the text, then that we can have a look in the PDF. So we would like the application to be as formless as possible, because we would like to evaluate content and not the form necessarily, although of course clarity is important in the overall picture. This is why we would like to have this supporting PDF. So it's not the supporting PDF is not what will be evaluated on only. It's just there to support. And then I have a few more important notes that we need to go through. The first one is conflict of interest. In any program where you spend, 6.8 million, I think it was, euros to third parties, conflict of interest and handling the money responsibly is immensely important. And the first thing I would like to mention is that membership to OW2, for instance, or membership to or participating to the online platform on Funding Box is not a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest if you have significant up or downstream activities with these organizations, or have relationships in other projects with individuals that are part of this consortium, for example, then that will be deemed a conflict of interest. So if you feel that you're too close to somebody here in the consortium, that would probably end in a conflict of interest. But membership to OW2 or funding box platform, not a problem at all. Even being a student, I think at Aarhus University would not be deemed a conflict of interest, or for that matter at Murcia University. But if you're a staff member and employed there, then of course that is a conflict of interest. So that's one thing to remember. The next one is, Nina mentioned already these minimum quality criteria and scope. This is also something that is immensely important. And there have already been a number of questions that have been asked by people, because it is a little bit confusing. So first thing is, your project must be open source. There is no way around it. What you produce inside of NGISearch's grant must be made open source under an open source license. It can be part of an open core development. It can be part of an existing project, but what you develop is not just going to sit on a repository with an open source license, but it also needs to be wider applicable to a community. So that's also part of this open source context. So it's not just that you slap on a GPL license or something like this, and it's so specific, the code, that it can only be used in your system. It needs to be applicable in a wider context. So also documentation and intent needs to be there for this open source to make sense. That's very, very important. Secondly, we have a choice of 3 minimum quality criteria. And quality criteria are both a measure for us to understand if you're the right team to be funded, both from a track records perspective and from a promise perspective. So the open source, we would like to see that you have a track record in making open source. So if you are contributing to an existing project, we like that. If you are trying to develop something new, you can point to previous open source projects. If you have nothing at all, then it's just a little bit harder for you to convince us that this is the right thing to do, but also possible. For the next 3, you need to pick one minimum to focus on. If you can cover all 3, also fine. We usually ask you in the form with a URL, because we would rather that you show us than write a lot of text. So post a URL with your relationship to building a demonstrator, for instance. So if you've made already some demonstration somewhere, or have a concept that you can show, that would be great to see as a URL. Even if it's a little bit outside of the scope of exactly what you're going to propose, that's going to be good, because when we know what you understand as a demonstrator, what you want to do with it. So it's both your pedigree and your promise that you can show us there. The same for contributions to standards or larger communities like open source communities, working on solutions, having a track record in that community, be it, IGF, IETF, W3C, or Linux community, or your own open source project that you'd like to support and work further with. And the final one is this collaboration with other people. So you're not just sticking to your own context and group, but you're also branching out maybe to work with entrepreneurs, researchers, developers, socially engaged people, deep technical contributions from university or research institute, and so on. So that is the third part. So you need to at least have one described well in your proposal, but we would like that you, of course, have more of them addressed in some way or another. And then the final part is also, you need to relate back to the core. The scope needs to be clearly defined in your project. So which topic or topics are you addressing in which way? That makes it very easy for us to say, oh yeah, okay, you're within the scope of this. But scope also means something a little bit more ephemeral, let's say, in terms of this human-centric approach. Now, not every search and indexing and discovery mechanism can be, privacy supported. That it doesn't identify individuals. We don't say that this needs to be exactly the case, but it needs to be within the spirit of the NGI. It should break with the norms of creating data lakes and supporting search and discovery through advertising, for example, or building huge databases on what is happening and monetizing that database. It doesn't need to work. It shouldn't work in that spirit. It should work in the spirit of NGI, which is more looking at serving humanity and working within European values of giving, for instance, choice, respecting individuals' privacy, and so on. So I hope that cleared that point up. And now we are already well over time, and I think we should move to the Q&A. So the call closes on the 1st of February at 5 o'clock CET. And like Nina said, don't submit 1 minute before that. Make sure that you are in good time for it.